Good day, doctor. My name is Vigneshmuthaliar Palani, number metric 262481. So today I'm going to present about my final year project. So this is my title, which is Adoption of e-wallet transaction among the University Uttara Malaysia students. So this is my poster, which is regarding my title, Adoption of e-wallet transaction among the UEM students. So I will explain the contents detailedly in my upcoming slides. First of all, introduction to my project. People in Malaysia enjoy a variety of e-wallet options, including Touch and Go e-wallet and GrabPay. So technology not only made life easier, but it also made it possible for individuals to perform things more swiftly and efficiently. Electronic money transactions have expanded dramatically as a result of the digital economic's rapid growth, allowing Malaysia to become a cashless society in the future. So e-wallet adoption is also influenced by a variety of factors, which are relative advantage, compatibility, complexity, triability, and observability. So next is about the problem statement for my project. In industrialized countries such as China, the United States, and South Korea, and many more, e-wallets are widely used. However, e-wallets use is still relatively new in Malaysia, and many individuals are unaware of its existence. This is due to the issues such as a lack of internet understanding, which leads to the lack of trust in the e-wallet system. Some clients continue to use cash and checks because they are unsure about the benefits of using an e-wallet. Customers are hesitant to utilize e-wallets due to a lack of information, according to the Central Bank of Malaysia. Then the research objective. The first objective of my project is to examine the rate of e-wallet adoption. Second one is to examine the categories of e-wallet adopters, and the third one is to identify the factors that influence the e-wallet adoption. So the next is the methodology for the project. We employed the quantitative method to acquire data for our study by asking survey questions concerning e-wallet adoption. The information was gathered from UUM undergraduates in three colleges, which are the College of Business (COB), the College of Art and Science (CAS), the College of Law, Government and International Studies, which known as COLGIS. Then a self-administrated questionnaire methodology was used to assess the e-wallet acceptance among the UUM undergraduates. This study utilized non-probability sampling, which is a sampling strategy in which the researchers choose sample based on his or her own subjective judgment rather than the random selection. Primary data was employed to acquire information and data from respondents in this study. Researchers used Google Form to distribute the questionnaire and sent to 260 students from these three colleges. The data was analyzed using the SPSS version 25 application for Windows in this study. So this is my theoretical framework. It includes the factors that influence the adoption of e-wallet. So which are the first one is relative advantage. So the second one is compatibility, third one complexity, fourth one trialability, and the final is observability. So this is the hypothesis of my research, which is the first one is there is no relationship between the relative advantage of e-wallets and its adoption among UUM undergraduates. The second one is for compatibility, which is there is no relationship between the compatibility of e-wallets and its adoption among UUM undergraduates. The third one is for complexity, which is there is no relationship between the complexity of e-wallets and its adoption among UUM undergraduates. The fourth one is for triability, so which is there is no relationship between the trialability of e-wallets and its adoption among UUM undergraduates. The final one is for observability, which is there is no relationship between the observability of e-wallets and its adoption among UUM undergraduates. Okay, the next is about the findings, and this is the reliability analysis. So this table shows the Cronbach alpha reliability values for the 6 variables. For these 6 variables, Cronbach alpha values range start from 0.70 to 0.89. So the compatibility variable's Cronbach alpha value is 0.70, which is considered satisfactory. The Cronbach value for the other 5 variables range start from 0.80 to the 0.89. So the greatest Cronbach alpha value for the relative advantage is 0.89, which considers as the greatest one. So aside from that, the Cronbach alpha value for complexity is 0.87, triability is 0.81, observability is 0.80, and the adoption of e-wallet is 0.85, and all of these which are regarded as good values. So next is the calculation of rate of e-wallet adoption. So the majority of the adopters are males compared to the females, and majorities of them are Malays, followed by Chinese, Indians, and then others. So the t-test and one-way ANOVA test are used to examine the rate of e-wallet adoption among the respondents. So the findings from t-test also show that male respondents has the highest rate of adoption compared to the female respondents at mean value, which is 3.97 and 3.72 respectively. So this means that t-test results show a significant difference of e-wallet adoption between male and female. So the next is about the central tendency measurement. One-way ANOVA test also shows that respondents from College of Laws, Government and International Studies, which known as COLGIS, have the highest rate of e-wallet adoption at mean value 4.36. Meanwhile, respondents from College of Business, COB, have the second highest rate of e-wallet adoption at mean value 3.82, and followed by respondents from College of Arts and Science, which known as CAS, at mean value 3.51. The ANOVA results also indicate significant result of e-wallet adoption between the respondents from these 3 colleges. So the next is about the correlation analysis, which is known as Pearson correlation test. So this Pearson correlation test is carried out to show the relationship between one variable to another variable. This table shows that e-wallet adoption and the relative advantage with the significant value 0.000, e-wallet adoption and compatibility with the significant value 0.00, e-wallet adoption and triability with 0.00, and e-wallet adoption and observability with the significant value 0.00. In terms of the strength of the link between the dependent variable and the independent variables, Pearson values range from 4.5 to 5.68, showing a moderate relationship between the dependent variable, which is e-wallet adoption, and the independent variables, which are relative advantage, compatibility, triability, and observability. So there is a positive association between the important dependent variable and the independent factors. So the next is multiple regression analysis. So multiple regression analyses are conducted to identify the factors that influence the adoption of e-wallet among UUM undergraduates, which is the second objective of my research. So in this research, 5 independent variables, which are relative advantage, compatibility, complexity, triability, and observability, are tested to examine the adoption of e-wallet among respondents. Multiple regression analysis indicates that observability has the largest beta coefficient, followed by relative advantage and compatibility. As an evidence, I have highlighted these 3 variables, which are the observability f 0.43 coefficient, relative advantage f 0.28 coefficient, and compatibility f 0.17 coefficient. This means that observability is the most significant factor that influences the e-wallet adoption, and followed by relative advantage and compatibility. Meanwhile, complexity and triability are not significant factors that influence the adoption of e-wallet. So the next is hypothesis test result of my research. So the first hypothesis, which is there is no relationship between the relative advantage of e-wallets and its adoption among undergraduates, has been rejected because it is not true. So the second hypothesis, which is there is no relationship between the compatibility of e-wallets and its adoption among undergraduates, also rejected. So the third hypothesis, which is there is no relationship between the complexity of e-wallets and its adoption among the undergraduates. So this hypothesis could not be rejected because it is truth. So the fourth one is there is no relationship between the trialability of e-wallets and its adoption among the undergraduates. So this hypothesis also could not be rejected. So the last one, the fifth hypothesis, which is there is no relationship between the observability of e-wallets and its adoption among undergraduates. So this hypothesis also rejected because it is not true. So the next is hierarchical cluster analysis. So in this research, hierarchical cluster analysis using what method is used to identify the category of e-wallet adopters among respondents, which is the third objective of the research. So the findings from the cluster analysis shows that there are three distinct cluster groups that can be separated among the respondents, which is extremely high adopter group, high adopter group, and moderate adopter group. So the group is divided according to its mean value and using a scale from 1 to 5. Based on the cluster analysis result, group 2 is the extremely high adopter group, has the highest mean value of 4.67. The high adopter group, which is group 1, shows the mean value of the group is 3.74, and lastly group 3, which is moderate adopter group, have the lowest mean value of 2.54. This means that most of the respondents are willingly to adopt the e-wallet, since all of these three groups means value is more than 2.5, which is the midpoint of 1 to 5 scale. So finally, its conclusion. So in conclusion, this study concerned on the adoption of e-wallet and the influence of technology acceptance model theory attributes such as relative advantage, compatibility, complexity, observability, and triability on the adoption of e-wallet among respondents. As an overall conclusion, relative advantage, compatibility, and observability have significant relationship with the adoption of e-wallet, while complexity and triability have not have a significant relationship with e-wallet adoption. So the researcher of this study suggests that more researchers can undertake the study to e-wallet in the context of different and large studies. For example, new researchers can conduct research at district, state, and international levels. So that's all from me. Thank you, Doctor. Hope you enjoy my presentation.